feel bad just you just leave them. An allegation of misconduct.
Not only are you bringing the biggest box I've ever fucking seen into our flat, which has got nowhere to go, you're asking me to leave.
Some good shit. This is going to be a week in the life of a guy who is creating content full-time whilst training for the Honolulu Marathon in December. So I'm going to take you through a little bit about my training, a lot about what it is like as a content creator, give you a bit of an insight into that, how I make my money, what it's like working with the brands and that kind of stuff. And I'm also going to be riding the bike a little bit. Basically, I come back from Girona last week and I'm feeling super strong on the bike. Even though the marathon training is my priority at the minute, I'm still trying to ride the bike. And when the weather's decent like it is today, we're going to get out on it as much as we can. Don't have any brand trips or anything cool lined up, so this is going to be a pretty average week just to show you what it is like, give a bit of insight into content creation and that kind of stuff. So yeah, let's get into it. It's currently Monday morning, and what I want to do at the start of every week is plan out my weeks basically. So I'm not going to time block every inch of every hour of every day, but what I want to do is just give myself a rough idea as to what I want to achieve on any given day this week. So typically splits into two things: my training goals and then my actual professional goals. So for example, today we are going to go out to Snakes Pass and do some hill reps because Snakes Pass is closed to cars for the week, and it's one of my favourite roads as well. So going to go up there and send some efforts up the hills, and then we're going to come back and do an Instagram reel, because that's the sort of bread and butter. That is basically what I do as a living. I make Instagram reels, as mad as that sounds. Like I said, I don't need to time block out every hour of every day. Not Mark Zuckerberg, that's just unnecessary, but I just want to know what I'm going to be doing for the week, because this job is very unstructured. Otherwise, you have to sort of create your own routine with it. Obviously, it depends on how busy I am on any given week, but typically every week I'll have a couple of calls with agencies and brands or partners about potential or current work, and I'll try and block them out on the same day just so I can have specific like admin-y professional days where I'll do content ideas, invoices, or the general admin, potential proposals to brands and stuff like that. So basically 2 days a week where I have a dedicated focus on the business side of things, obtaining new work or just working on current partnerships and brand work. Because Instagram don't pay shit and I have bills to pay. Speaking of which, actually, I'll do a little flat tour now and show you around the gaff that we are renting out in Stockport. It's like an old style building, so the ceilings are dead high. It's super nice. We just cannot afford to buy it because it's fucking extortionate. This is the kitchen. The gaff's pretty clean actually currently, because we had the landlord come around yesterday. So we've just cleaned it from top to bottom, got ourselves a little air fryer, kettle, toaster, even got a microwave and a coffee machine, just living the dream out here. Bathroom's quite small, but it's done up really nicely with like the black interior, quite like it. We've got a shower and a bath, a toilet, got some towels in here as well, again, just living the dream out here. One of them like bath trays so you can stick your phone on it and watch some stuff and just chill out. Through the hallway into the bedroom first off. Decent sized bedroom, got ourselves a king size bed there, or a queen size bed, and this is my corner. Absolute mess, to be honest. We've got medals that we've collated over the years, all my running clobber on there, shoes, just stuff that gets sent, just gets piled up in this corner. And then my favourite room in the flat, the living room, again a bit of a mess. We've got a bike box just sprawled over there, and then the bikes just live here. Jade's on job. Jade's a lawyer, so she has to do quite a bit of work in comparison to me. But yeah, that's it. So I'm going to head out on today's ride pretty soon. It's just going to be a little one, and I don't have to get any content around it really, but I am going to get a few clips for this video that we're doing here. And then Rafa have asked me to get a bit of content around the new jersey that they're releasing. They're a partner, so every now and again they ask me to do some stuff like that. I get quite a lot of questions about how I actually got into content creation and made it a job and that kind of thing. So started back in summer of 2022. I got back from a trip to Chamonix with the lads who are also into running, and I decided that I was going to start running myself. I'd spent the prior 5, 6, 7, 8 years neglecting my health and fitness, prioritising going out, smoking, drinking, all the bad stuff that I don't want to do anymore. And I wanted to document the honest account of a guy who was getting into running from a position of just being horrendously unfit and out of shape. Because I know that, like myself, a lot of lads my age as well did that thing as well. You grow up on football, fairly healthy, athletic kid, and then you go to uni and just can it just for booze and nicotine and stuff like that. So I thought it'd be interesting to document almost like a journey back into fitness. So I made an account called That Newbie Runner on TikTok and just started going out and documenting an honest account of running because I really struggled to get into it. To begin with, after smoking for so many years, my chest just got super tight. I was just unfit. I was doing all the wrong things. Obviously, you know what it's like with social media. The majority of the stuff you're seeing on there are the highlights, and at the time, I don't remember seeing anyone who was actually shit at running documenting it. It was more just people who were donning these sub 3 hour marathons and demons and that sort of thing. So I wanted to showcase what it was like as a newbie. Eventually started to get a bit of traction on TikTok, so I thought we would post on Instagram as well. And the brands started coming in, started getting messages from agencies and brands directly about working with them. And yeah, just slowly and steadily grew my account over the span of like a year. And then I bought my first bike and started doing the same, started getting into cycling and documenting that journey as well. And then since then had, you know, ample brand opportunities, partnerships, etc., to the point where I can now sustain a living off of the brand work. That is how I make all of my money. Partnerships can differ depending on the brand, what they want, how I want to work with them, but typically it manifests itself in the way of me creating content for them. I'll touch more on this and how I've gone about getting brand partners, etc., later in the video. Right, made it to the top, rep number 1. I ain't feeling too good, a bit bunged up still from Girona. I'm gonna rip it back down and come up a few more times and see what I can do. Oh shit. Second rep up. About 23 minutes or something. Time to descend back down there again. Right, we are finito on the bike. I'm gonna head back, grab myself a bacon double cheese XL burger on the way back from Burger King, and then I'm gonna go and do a bit of a shop for some healthier stuff, chicken, rice, all that boring stuff. And then we are gonna sit back down, get on the laptop, do some emails, see if we've got any new opportunities in the inbox, and edit some videos. Check my emails, I've had quite a few things come in, a lot of tripe, but some decent stuff. I've been back and forth with an agency about an activation with Adidas. They are doing a brand activation in Manchester. They have invited me down and asked for a set amount of deliverables. I went back on my fee, what I wanted last week. They have just come back today with a counter offer. So I'm gonna go back and just ask for a little bit more, see what we can get. It's a brand that I wanna work with, so I am happy to come down on the fee a little bit as long as I can get a decent amount for it. And then breaking news, as of the last 4 minutes, I have just had another email come through from an outdoors brand that I am very familiar with. They are doing a campaign. They have sent over on email a bit of an overview, and then they normally send a requirement of what kind of content they want. So in this example, it's 1 collab Instagram reel, 6 story frames, and then 30 days organic and paid usage. If it's an opportunity I'm interested in, I'll typically go back and send a fee that I think is appropriate, and we'll negotiate from there. If not, I'll just say thanks a lot for the opportunity, but I don't think this is the right fit for my page as of right now, and go from there. But yeah, you never know what is going to land in your inbox on any given day, which is what I really like about it. Fortunately, I'm in a position where I don't really have to do anything that I don't want to do with brands that I don't want to work with, etc. Because at the start of the year, this is my first year as a freelancer, I wanted to acquire like a range of partners that I could work with that would give me retainers that would act as a wage, basically. So each month I knew I had a set amount of money coming in, and then the additional one-off opportunities that land in my DMs or my inboxes, etc. are pretty much just a bonus. I'd highly recommend this approach, especially if you're doing content creation, because inherently it's quite financially unstable. You never know what is going to come in each month or what isn't going to come in. So having them partners that guarantees a monthly income or an annual income, it just helps take away a bit of the financial anxiety that this job comes with. Right, good morning. It's Tuesday morning. We have got a pretty admin heavy day today. In the morning, I'm going to try and get my progression run out the way, 8-kilometre progression run where you start at a certain pace and build up, get quicker. And then in the afternoon, we've just got pure admin stuff. So I have a meeting with OTE, who are a nutrition partner that I've been working with for the last year. I'm going to update my media pack because I am starting to think about pitching some work to certain brands for next year around certain events that I want to get to, and I've not updated the media pack in a minute, so I need to get that sorted. And then I might even try and do a proposal to Ford, because I recently worked with Ford on just a one-off Instagram campaign where I just made a reel about one of their Ford Explorers, and I would love to get them on board for 2025 as a bit more of a partner, longer term thing. Obviously the majority of my content is based around running and cycling, but I do want to branch out a little bit to more lifestyle bits, and getting an automotive brand on board would be unbelievable. Whilst I'm procrastinating my run, I thought I would show you through a couple of the cool deliveries I had last week. So we have got the Asics X Samsung Gear Gel Terrain. These were sent over by 7 Store, like a lifestyle shoe from Asics. Really like how they look. Sports shoes sent over some of the Hoka Skyward X. These are like a 48mm Stackite shoe with a carbon plate. Really strange shoe. I've had one run in them and I really rated them though, so I'm going to try them again today, I think, on today's progression run. And they sent over the Hoka Cielo X1s. These are like Hoka's top of the range carbon plated race shoe. Done a couple of speed sessions in these feel superb as well. And then possibly the creme de la creme of all the deliveries, the Soar X Norda collab. So they sent over a few bits of clobber. You've got like this quarter zip that is just beautiful. Another like fleecy quarter zip. Again, it's got that logo on the back. It's just the work of art. I really like Soar. They're one of my favorite running brands. And later in this month, we are actually doing a bit of content with them. So that'll be sick. Let's get to business. I've decided to go with the Endorphin Pro 4s for this run from Saucony. I want something light, nimble and quick. Them Skyward X's, as comfortable as they are, they're a little bit heavy for a progression run, I think. Just having to switch the battery out of my Garmin heart rate monitor. I didn't even realise it had a battery in it, to be honest. I've had it for 9 months and this is the first time it's died on me. It didn't work on yesterday's ride either. I thought it just ran on sweat. Don't really need accurate heart rate data. I don't tend to train to heart rate, but it's just something I like to keep tabs on. It was a tough session. Them progression runs and the tempo runs I find really solid, but I think they're the ones my body adapts the best to, and that's when I start to see proper fitness, when I start nailing these sessions. It's one of them ones where 5k in I'm thinking there's no way I've got 3 kilometers quicker than this pace left in me, but we got through it, hit all the splits, did better than I expected actually in the end. You just gotta embrace that discomfort. Average heart rate for the whole session was 170 BPM, max heart rate 190 BPM, so you can tell I was putting in a big old shift on that one. Let's get showered and freshen up. So a media pack is basically just a one-stop shop, a little bit of a document that includes all of the key or the majority of the key information a brand or an agency might want to see if they are to work with you. So for me, that just consists of literally 3 pages. Nobody wants to spend 20 minutes reading through 15 pages of why a brand should work with you. So keep it short, punchy and concise and visual as you can. For me, this just includes a title page, a little bit about the mission, which just overviews who I am and what I'm trying to achieve with my content, and then just social analytics from the different channels, so Instagram, YouTube and TikTok. Not an essential thing, you don't have to have one of these, but in my experience of doing this, a lot of brands, especially if they are new to working with you, do ask for audience insights and stuff like this, and if you can just whip out some sexy little media pack, it just makes you look a bit more pro, doesn't it? Trying to get myself down to London on the first weekend of November for the Rafa Muddy Hell cyclocross event. I've never done cyclocross before, but it looks so fun. And this event in particular looks mint because you race dressed up in a Halloween costume. So I have just ordered potentially the best Halloween costume ever. And I've been speaking to Van Rysel about sorting me a cross bike. They've just released a new one. So it's perfect timing really, because I can make a video on that. Imagine masked Kane getting about at a cyclocross event. That is so sick. Wednesday morning, today and tomorrow should hopefully be a little more interesting. This is the first week in what feels like forever that I've had nothing on. So I've decided to head up to the Lake District. I'm going to stay the night tonight, and then I am going on a hike with Joe Explores tomorrow, who is a lad who does content on sort of camping and outdoors and hiking and that sort of stuff, which should be sick. Not been up Helvellyn in a while, it's one of my favourite hikes, so I'm buzzing for that. I think because this summer was just so mad in terms of things that I was getting to experience. I was on the move what felt like all summer basically. I'm not sure if it's a little creative rut or if it's just outright seasonal depression, but I'm feeling a little bit flat and uninspired creatively at the minute when it comes to content. Like I said, this summer I've had so many sick opportunities, so content just came pretty naturally because I was documenting what I was doing, whereas now when we're a bit quieter, it's difficult to churn out content consistently. My favourite saying in relation to content creation is done is better than perfect, and that's something I've been able to do pretty well over the 2 years that I've been making content. I don't think there's any space for perfectionism when it comes to content creation because you need to be consistent to grow an account, and perfectionism hinders any level of consistency. If you're going to sit there and spend weeks mulling over every single video you do, you're never going to post and then you're never going to grow an account. And again, in my own experience, documentation style content where I am going out and doing something and documenting the story or the experience is infinitely easier than sitting here on the couch doing niche, having to think of an idea from nothing. That is really difficult and unsustainable, I would say. This has seemingly turned into a bit of a therapy session, hasn't it? I am going to pack my bags and then make my way up to the lakes and do my run up there with some fresh scenery. Before I hit the road, I am just making some final amends to a piece of branded content I've got going live on Instagram this afternoon. I edit everything in Premiere Pro. It's, to me, one of the simplest softwares to use. I've tried DaVinci Resolve, which is free as well. You can get a free version of that. But God, that stuff was just complicated. Premiere Pro is something I've picked up pretty easily. The main battle I have sometimes with brands and content when I'm doing ads and stuff for them is they always want to get the brand across. Obviously, that makes sense. It's a piece of branded content that they're paying for, so it makes sense. But there's a fine line between over-branding it and making it some spammy ad and doing a piece of branded content that feels like authentic and sort of organic in a way. So that's often what I'm doing. I'm sort of pushing back on things where it's like include the brand in the title, in the first 1 second, in the caption, yada, yada, yada. Just gets a bit too much sometimes. And ads are obviously the main way I make money doing this stuff, so I care a lot about how they do. And at this point, I've got like a bank of prior ads and stuff that I've done with other brands throughout the years that I've done really well. And I have a bit more expertise in the space as to what will work and what won't. So I'm a bit more assertive these days with brands when it comes to pushing back on things that I think will be to the detriment of the video, if that makes sense. Only ever really had one bad branded experience when it comes to this kind of stuff, and that was because I'd agreed to do this campaign that they'd sent over, and then they amended the brief after the fact, and the new brief just became like a bit of a joke, something that I was never ever going to do. It was just so far out of the scope of my usual content that I had to actually can it, which was an interesting one. Touchdown in the lakes. We are staying at this sort of old school cozy hotel. I really like these old hotels in the Lake District, just something about them that's really nice. The weather's still tripe, so I'm waiting for that to die down. In the meantime, I am editing a reel about running. Kaif got loads of footage of us out in Girona on the bike and on the track, so it feels like I should be using them for something because they are really nice clips, so it makes sense just to throw together a bit of a reel. The way I tend to do these edits is pretty straightforward. I'll always do a script in the Notes app or on my laptop. Whenever any kind of video idea comes to my mind, I'll just make a note of it there and then, otherwise I will forget it. That's happened a lot of times. I then come over to Premiere Pro, get some clips onto the timeline, chop them up, colour grade them, do the voiceover with the mic, export it, and there you have it. I store all my footage on these little external hard drives from Samsung. This one is the Samsung T7. I think I've had a couple of these over the years and they are solid. Makes things a lot easier, and I've got all of my footage organised nicely into little folders and that on these external hard drives, and I can bring them with me everywhere as well because they're tiny. The run might not have happened because the weather has just been dismal all day, but got a hike tomorrow, an easy run on the Friday, and then my 23k long run on the Sunday. All these hotels just remind me of The Shining. You know, the horror film, Jack Nicholson. That's all they remind me of. The decor is just the same in all of them. Doing loads of stuff with other people, you know, this year. I've met a lot of content creators who are doing a similar thing. It's always good. I always find I get on with them dead well because we've got shared interests, shared passions and that, and we're all doing the same sort of thing really, so it's been nice. Right, working with brands. This is a really tricky nut to crack. I get quite a lot of DMs from people who are looking to do big challenges, etc., and they want to get brands on board to support them financially and logistically, etc. And one of the main ways you can obviously do this is through pitching. is through pitching. So you can create a proposal, typically in the form of like a PDF or a PowerPoint, outlining what the challenge is, who you are, what you want to do in terms of deliverables, etc., in exchange for whatever you want from the brand. So an example of this would be my Ironman 70.3 in Austria. I pitched a couple of things to a few brands for financial backing and kit. What I pitched basically was like a 3-part series where I document the training over the 3-month period in exchange for X amount of money and kit to support the logistics and that kind of thing, because it's quite expensive, these Ironmans. So I found a lot of the time when it comes to pitching, you need a bit of luck really. And most of the time I end up with brands saying, we can't give you any budget, but we can provide the product, for example, or just get ghosted. But your best bet is to pull together some kind of solid proposal outlining everything that you can deliver in return for whatever it is you want. And obviously don't be asking for ludicrous things that are just not realistic. Obviously the utopia is when the brand reaches out to you. I had this a couple of times where a brand reaches out just kind of asking if they want to send over products and stuff like that, and then I have sort of gone back with a proposal asking for a little bit more than just that. So some kind of longer term partnership. Could we do 2 months, 3 months on retainer, for example, and see how it goes, and then with the option to extend it if it works well for both parties. Obviously getting to the point where you're actually getting outreach to by brands you genuinely want to work with, that's really fucking difficult. So prior to that, I did start off by just outreaching to smaller brands. I even started off doing things just for product, just so I could start building some kind of a portfolio of branded work and just getting to grips with how things actually work when you are speaking to brands and that kind of thing. Defo recommend if you're a newer account, a smaller account, and you are looking to get involved with brands, reach out to some smaller brands in whatever niche it is you're operating within and just see what you can get. At the end of the day, like, content is king, so all these smaller brands probably don't have much resource in the way of actually creating content themselves, so a lot of them will be up for gifting out seeding products and stuff like that to smaller creators for content. Obviously it's quite a fine line at this point as well between being exploited and a fair value exchange. So if a company's sending you a 10 quid t-shirt each month and asking for 5 Instagram reels, then you're being mugged off. But you do have to start somewhere, and gifting for content is a pretty good space to be in, because you can then at least fall back on the fact that you've got a portfolio of prior branded content that you can send to new brands when you are trying to get budget from them and stuff like that. Also, just need a bit of luck. Like, for example, the first paid gig I got was from an agency with Adidas. Like, it just so happened that the person at the agency must have seen my content and that, and then ended up getting a paid gig with Adidas as my first one, and then it sort of snowballed from there really for me. All this is on the premise that you're making semi-decent content and have somewhat of an audience. You don't need 1 million followers to do it, but you need to have at least a little bit of a following and be able to make decent quality content, because that is all the brands care about at the end of the day. Most of the time it's just eyeballs, just getting new eyeballs on the brand and brand awareness and that kind of thing. You can't just make an account one day and then reach out to brands the next day and expect to get anything back. It takes bare time to grow an audience and get decent at making the content. It's a lot harder, I think, than most people think it will be.
Not only are you bringing the biggest box I've ever fucking seen into our flat, which has got nowhere to go, you're asking me to leave.
Yeah, Jade's not too happy, but I can't really blame her. We are running a little bit low on space in this flat at the minute. There's a few too many bikes floating around. Well, let's get it opened anyway and see what we got. Extremely different to the road bike after the first ride, but I assume that's meant to be the case. It's got proper like knobbly tyres on for the mud and that. I just need to go and find some mud paths that I can go and rip about on, to be honest. Some good shit. Friday evening, just editing the video you are currently watching. Gonna have an early night because I have a big old bike ride tomorrow. We've got a 100k lined up, which should be fun. And the branded post we did yesterday with Lucky Saint ended up doing all right. 52,000 views, which is decent for a collab post with the brand. Not complaining about that. So that's a good end to the week. Oh God, it's looking miserable out there. It's rainy and wet. This is one of them days where I wish I lived in Spain. We are soaked through to the core, about 20k in. Just coming to Snake's Pass, could not be wetter. But thankfully it ain't that cold and it ain't that windy, so we're all good. Come on, Jonas! Yeah, at least we're doing it in the sun now. How's that? That was a character building ride, that was, by the end. Just come back, made myself this gourmet meal, chicken strips and basmati rice. I just need to get the recovery started because I've got a 23k long run on the cards tomorrow that, at the minute, I'm not feeling. Also picked up the Go of Chocky Milk, possibly the best recovery drink in the business, Choco Mel. Pack a glass of that down me and then we'll be good for tomorrow. There's a reason you don't see what I eat in a day videos on my Instagram, because I eat like the beigest meals on the face of the earth. Oh, good shit. That is some good shit. In December, it'll be 1 full year since I quit my job and went all in on this content creation stuff. And I remember thinking at the time, this is either going to be the best decision I've ever made for myself, or it's going to be an embarrassing one if I have to go back into full-time employment a few months down the line. But I'd reached a point basically where I was doing my full-time job, I was doing content creation, which was becoming a full-time job. So I had 2 jobs basically where outside of my working hours, I was so focused on doing the content stuff that everything else in my life just gave in. Just like I compromised so much of my time elsewhere, like my social life was compromised, PlayStation got canned, everything got canned basically for me to focus on the content stuff. It's kind of like, feels like a bit of a rat race, especially when you are in full-time employment. You're trying to grow your account to the point where you can get enough money to live off content whilst also doing your full-time job. It's a stressful period. And then when I'd actually quit the job, it was kind of mixed emotions, to be fair, because part of me was thinking, I can breathe now, I've got a lot more free time in my life, but also, oh shit, I really have to make this work now because I have no income other than the content stuff. To be fair to me, I have put in an absolute shift. I have sunk so much time, effort, energy, money, all of it into making this stuff work. So to get to the point where I'm at now where it has worked and I've had the best summer of my life by a mile, the opportunities that I've had were just a joke. It feels really good because I feel like I've earned it. Long may it continue because I am having the time of my life out here, honestly. Even though this week's look boring as fuck, but this has probably been the most boring week I've had all year. So speaking to Keith about how to shoot and stuff like this, he says always shoot shadow side, so when the light's coming this way, stick the camera on the other side of that and it should create some nice like lights. I think I'm exposing this all wrong though, to be honest. I think I'm going to be underexposed and then the shadows are going to look nasty. 23k on the cards today, Sunday morning. We've got 12 kilometres comfortable and then 11k at quicker than marathon pace, so 5:11 per kilometre. I'm going to see how I'm feeling. Legs are a little bit tender after yesterday's bike ride, so if I have to do the whole thing comfortable, then so be it. As long as I get the distance done, we're all good. Hoka Skyward X is the shoe of choice for today's long run. They are a little bit ugly, if I'm honest. I'm not a fan of how they look, but they felt incredible on last week's long run, so we're going to go out on them again today. 23k will be the longest I have ran since the Paris Marathon back in April, I'm pretty sure. And the long runs just keep getting worse from now until December, until the taper starts, basically. So it's not looking good, bruv.
Hey, bro, I need you to get back in that mode again. That mode where nothing can take you off your pivot. You just putting in that work every single day. See, that version of you is different. You gotta tap back into it.
Let's fucking go. I've let the team down a little bit today. He only managed 16k, bottled the last 7k. My legs are just a little too battered after that ride yesterday, but it tops off a pretty solid week for me. We've done 35 kilometers of running and 123 kilometers on the bike, so just shy of a 9-hour week, which is solid for me. Just gonna chill out for the rest of the day now. Nothing else left to document, so I guess that is the end of my week in the life of a content creator. If you've got any questions about branded stuff, training or anything like that, leave a comment and I'll try and get back to it. Or I might just do another video like this, to be honest. I've enjoyed filming it. Nice one for watching this far if you have, and I'll see you in the next one.